Have you ever thought, maybe faith is just for people who can't handle life? I used to believe that. I used to think God was a fantasy people clung to when reality got too hard. That prayer was like talking to the ceiling. And faith? I saw it as a crutch. A soft pillow for those who couldn't stand on their own. I wasn't angry at God. I just genuinely believed He wasn't there. That life was random. That logic and reason were enough to carry me through. I prided myself on being grounded, rational, independent. I didn't need something invisible to hold me up. But then, something happened. Something I didn't see coming. Something I couldn't explain or reason my way out of. It cracked open the very foundation I'd been standing on. And suddenly, everything I thought I knew didn't feel so certain anymore. Have you ever had a moment like that? A moment where life, with all its chaos and beauty, just knocks the wind out of you, and you find yourself asking questions you never thought you'd ask. That was me. And I'm not here to preach at you. I'm just here to tell you what happened. When I finally stopped trying to figure it all out and started listening. There's a verse that didn't mean anything to me before, but now I carry it with me everywhere. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. It's strange how one moment, one whisper, can change everything. So if you've ever doubted faith, or thought it was just for the weak, I get it. I really do. But let me take you back to the moment where that belief began to shift. You know, I didn't grow up hating God. I just didn't believe He was real. To me, religion was like a story people told themselves to feel better. The Bible? I saw it as mythology. Something ancient and poetic, but not something I could take seriously. I didn't judge people for needing it. I just thought I didn't. I leaned on reason, on science, on what I could see and prove and touch. If it couldn't be measured, it probably didn't exist. That was my framework. And honestly, it gave me a sense of control, like I was building my life on solid ground. Have you ever felt that way? That relying on facts and logic makes you strong safe? Looking back, I think it was less about strength and more about self-protection. Because when you live that way, only trusting what's visible, you don't have to be vulnerable. You don't have to admit you don't know, or that you might need something beyond yourself. I remember once overhearing someone pray out loud in a coffee shop. They weren't even trying to be dramatic. They were just quietly asking God for peace. And I remember scoffing internally, like, seriously, talking to the sky? But now I can admit, part of me envied that kind of openness. I wasn't angry at God. I was closed. Closed to the possibility that something greater might exist. That something, or someone, might be listening. There's a verse I didn't care for back then, but now I understand it differently. The fool says in his heart, "There is no God." Psalm 14:1. It doesn't mean people who doubt are stupid. It means sometimes we're afraid to believe. And for a long time, that was me. It's strange how life has this way of shaking the ground beneath you, right when you think you've got it all figured out. For me, that moment came suddenly. No warning. One phone call, and everything changed. Someone I loved deeply. Gone. Just like that. Or maybe for you, it wasn't death. Maybe it was betrayal. A divorce. A diagnosis. Losing your job. Watching your bank account drain to zero. We each have that moment, don't we? When the floor disappears, and you realize your logic can't catch you. I remember sitting in my car that night, staring at the steering wheel, unable to move. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped everything out of me. And for the first time, I couldn't think my way out of it. I couldn't solve it. I couldn't fix it. Have you ever felt that kind of emptiness? The kind that doesn't have a name, only a weight? That was my turning point. Not because I found faith, but because I ran out of answers. And in that silence, I began to wonder if someone, anyone, could hear me. I didn't call it prayer. I didn't even know who I was talking to. I just remember whispering, "Please, I don't know what to do." There's a verse that says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm 34:18. I didn't believe in verses then, but something about that line, it makes sense to me now. Sometimes the real journey doesn't begin when you find something certain. It begins when you admit you're lost. It was late. One of those nights when your body is exhausted, but your mind refuses to quiet down. I had tried everything. Turned the lights off, rolled over a dozen times, even counted the cracks on the ceiling. But something inside me just wouldn't rest. So I reached for my phone. Out of habit, really. I wasn't looking for anything in particular. Just noise. Distraction. I scrolled through a few videos and ended up clicking on something random. To this day, I still can't remember the title or who was speaking, but I'll never forget the first words that came through my headphones. "It's okay. I've never left you." And suddenly, I broke. I didn't even know. I was holding back tears until they came pouring out. It was like that one sentence reached into a part of me I hadn't touched in years. A part that felt abandoned, forgotten, alone. Have you ever had a moment like that, where something so simple hits you so deeply, it feels like the universe, or maybe someone beyond it, knew exactly what you needed to hear? No one else was in the room. No one else knew what I was going through. But in that moment, it felt like those words had been spoken just for me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have language for it yet. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. Something sacred had broken through. There's a verse in Isaiah that says, "Before they call, I will answer. While they are still speaking, I will hear." Isaiah 65:24. I didn't believe in verses at the time. But that night, I started to wonder, what if I wasn't alone after all? I didn't plan on praying. Honestly, I didn't even know how. There wasn't a church nearby. No music playing. No candlelit room. It was just me alone, sitting on the edge of my bed, heart heavy and hands shaking. And for the first time, I whispered something I never thought I would say. "If you're real, please don't let me drown." That was it. No fancy words. No rehearsed lines. Just a raw, desperate sentence. I expected silence. Or maybe just the echo of my own voice in the dark. But instead, something shifted. Not around me, but in me. It wasn't dramatic. There was no lightning bolt, no voice from the clouds. Just a calm, a quiet, the kind you don't realize you've been craving until it arrives. It felt like peace, like a soft presence that didn't try to fix me, or shame me, or demand anything. Just sat with me, as if God was saying, "I'm here. You don't have to carry this alone anymore." Have you ever had that kind of moment, when something inside you finally exhaled? Over time, I started picking up the Bible again, the same book I used to mock. I wasn't trying to convert or check off a list. I just became curious. My heart, once sealed shut, had cracked open a little. I didn't suddenly become a good little Christian. I didn't join every church group or memorize verses. I just became someone who started listening to the stillness, to the possibility, to the God I never thought was real, but who had been waiting for me all along. If you've made it this far, thank you. I know what I've shared might sound strange, maybe even unbelievable. And if you're still skeptical, still unsure, maybe even thinking, God is just a fantasy people cling to when life gets hard, I understand. I used to think the same. So I want to be clear. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm not asking you to agree with me or adopt a label. or suddenly believe what I believe. I'm just telling you what happened. A moment, simple, quiet, and deeply personal, that shifted something in me. A moment that made me believe there is something more. Or maybe, someone more. Not an idea, not a theory, but a presence that no logic could explain. Have you ever experienced something like that? Something your mind couldn't quite grasp, but your heart recognized immediately. Have you ever had a feeling, just for a second, that you weren't truly alone? That something, or someone, was gently watching over you, even if you didn't have a name for it? That's what this is for me. Not religion, not rules, just relationship. I can't prove it, but I can't forget it either. And maybe that's enough. So if you're still listening, maybe you're searching too. If so, I hope this gave you something to sit with. Not an answer, just an invitation. To pause, to wonder, to listen. And if anything here touched something inside you, feel free to share your story in the comments. Leave a like if this resonated. And if you'd like to walk this journey together, subscribe to Trust in Light. Wherever you are, may you feel less alone tonight.